Hey guys, welcome to the Parrott Bros. Today we're going to be doing a fitting video. We're going to show you how to fit one of these beautiful things with a shield, bigger air filter, all that great stuff. And we'll show you how to take it from your stock airbox like this to what you see here today and everything in between. We'll also go over filters without a shield and how you can secure them down, and a few other little tips and tricks like how to cut your turbo intake pipe should you have an aftermarket one and it doesn't fit. And we'll run through all of those things, so stick around. Let's jump into the intro. Just wanted to say a big thank you to Cloude Customs, the supplier of today's items. This is not a sponsored video, but he has sent me a selection of stuff to show you guys, show you fitting, and then I will pay for the ones that I will be fitting myself. The rest will be going back to Cloude Customs. But it was great. I have a great rapport with them. Really good company, really friendly, really helpful, quick service, and we just thought it would be better if I showed you guys all of the different options, how they fit, how they don't fit. And then you can make your choice to the one you want. Obviously you've got from the cheapest one, which is the cheapest filter and shield, versus the more expensive filter with a separate shield from Cloude, an egg cell with no shield, and a few other options available. So that's Cloude Customs. I'll put their details down in the description along with everything that I have fitted here today, guys. So enjoy. Let's jump into the video. This is the open cone option. So you can just, with your turbo intake pipe, MAF, and then put a filter with no shield around, allowing air to come from all angles, down, front, side, whatever. The only thing I would recommend with this is to fit a bracket, like I have done, just to stop it shaking about too much. Because what I'll do is I'll show you it without the bracket, if I can undo it. So now the bracket's removed, you can see that it would naturally just flop about all over the place, which eventually will mean it'll either work loose, or it could rub a pipe through, or it could perish a pipe where it's obviously working backwards and forwards. Something could come loose, something could break, which is not what you want. Now I'll show you the bracket. Let me get the filter off. We'll take the filter off and then I can show you what the bracket looks like, and then we'll move on to the next option. So this is just a little piece of inch thick, well, probably just not even an inch really, and it's just a bit of metal that goes down to the lower fixing next to the battery, just bent to a slight angle, just because it's not a direct straight up fitment, but it's just nice and simple. I never actually got round to painting it, so it's a little bit rusty, but yeah, you get the idea. So obviously without that, and then with that, put my thumb on it, on the brown, there you go, you can see it's a lot better. So I would recommend that if you're going to be fitting just a filter, nothing else, I would look at putting a little bracket on it of some description from either there or there. Either of the two mounts will be perfectly fine. So that is open cone filters. Okay, so next up we've got the Ram Air Big XL foam. Again, only mounted on just the MAF itself, no shield or anything like that. And as you can see, it is quite big. It does touch on the battery stuff a little bit there, so I'd probably have to bend my bracket a little bit. Let's just do that now. So there you go, bend my bracket a little bit, fit it, and it does sit slightly further away. This is the good thing about the bracket, is you can make sure it's not touching either side. You can sort of bend it. I mean, we can push it a bit further away. There you go, and it fits perfectly inside the gap. Now this filter is huge. You may need to shorten the bracket a little bit just to bring it down a little bit, because like that, because it is quite a big filter, and obviously you don't want it touching on the bonnet, which would be a bad thing, but you get the idea. XL filter, just to give you a size of a feel for size of it. You can see there it is massive compared. So if you're after a really big filter, and you can, the only thing I would say about this is if you're not running the shield, I would probably try, and if you can, run a little duct extra. It's not going to be particularly easy if your battery's there, but if you can, try and draw some more air up into it for this beauty here. And that is using the 80mm, which they supply, and all that does is you push that on there, and then all that does is sit into the air filter, and it has a shoulder so it can't go any further. And yeah, that is the XL filter. So to remove, if you're on a standard airbox, this one here, which I can't fit in mine because I've got the turbo intake pipe already, it's a little bit too hard to get in. But I just thought I'd show you, there's going to be two fixings. So if you're looking at it like that, there's a fixing on the right hand side, which is here, and that is a 10mm head. They're both 10mm heads, 6mm thread, and it's just underneath the strut brace, so you'll just need a little, either a wobbly or an extension, and come down at an angle. And then on the other side, right at the front, there is another one. Now that is found just down the side of the battery here, and it's quite easy to see. If you look down from above, you'll be able to see it. There's two fixings, one that holds the battery case in, the other one on the right hand side there is to get this out. Now once you've got those two out, be very careful, we might need a magnet because it's quite tight down there to get it out. Now this is held in by the MAF one side, and it's got this rubber teat which sits into the circular hole just off shot here. So you can, what I would recommend is unplugging the MAF, which I'll show you in a minute, and then once you've done that, if you've unplugged it, undo your Jubilee clip, and you should be able to just pull your stock or whatever pipe you've got on the box, just pull the stock pipe away just enough, and all it will do is allow you to lift it up. I mean, if you want, for ease, you can undo the two Phillips screws on the far side of the box, and that will allow you to lift the lid off. You can take the lid away, and then it just leaves you with the base, and then the base will be easier to lift out, but you're still going to have to go that way to get this teat out of the circular hole there. Once that's out and off, you've then got to remove your MAF, which is a two Phillips head screws, not Pozzies, Phillips. So get them removed. Ideally do it on the floor where you won't drop the screws into your engine bay. And these come out very simply. Now if you've obviously got a 225, you'll have an 80mm MAF. If you've got a 180 or a 150, you'll probably have a 70mm MAF, but always check, because you never know what people have done to it in the past. They could have modded it, could have put the wrong airbox on it and all sorts. So simple enough, just get a tape measure, measure across. Now if you forget which way you had this on, it's very simple. It has an arrow pointing in the direction of flow, which means air is going to go that way. I'll quickly show you plugging and unplugging, because it can be a bit fiddly on these. So there's your MAF plugged in. It's got a clip so it can't come out. Now these have a little shoulder there, and usually you can just push on it and it will pull off. Now if it doesn't, gently you can get a screwdriver and you can just put it down under it and just lift it a tiny bit just to allow that to come off, and that'll pull off nicely. When you've done that, tuck it out the way so it doesn't get in the way while you're doing all the work in the engine bay. Put your MAF somewhere safe where it won't drop, and then you're ready to do whatever it is that you're going to do, whether you're going to do an open cone or you're going to do a shield. We're going to move on to the shields. So we'll test fit one. Now I know for a fact we've got, actually we'll do both. So we've got the Cloud 9 one and we've got the Ram Air one. Now when I overlay these, I don't know if you can see this on camera, but basically the Ram Air one is going to be a lot further forward. If you see where the holes are on the slots there. There you go, that's better, you can see the holes. So if you overlay them, the Ram Air one is a lot further forward than the Cloud 9 one, which means you're going to have to trim more off of the pipe. So I'll just pop that in there, and all it does is, I'll move this pipe out of the way for a minute, and it just sits on top of the battery cover there, and obviously this fixing will go straight in. This one here is straight on top, straight in, little bolt, and then there's a longer one with a sleeve. Now the sleeve you'll have to put down there because there's a little gap just between where the shield stops, because it's on a sort of a surface, and then there's a little gap to where the bolt goes into the hole, just to stop you sort of over tightening it and bending it downwards. Now as you can see, it's really forcing on there, and if I let go, that pushes it quite a way over. And we've also got to put the MAF onto that as well. So let's look at our flow of travel. So that's going to go that way. Now on this Ram Air one, it actually wants you to put it like that. So you're going to be putting it there, and you may get it on a stock one. This may fit straight away. If it doesn't, we'll go into trimming in a minute. And basically you're going to be putting, it comes with the nuts and bolts, so you just nut and bolt it into there, pop it into your thing, and then just try and offer it up and work out where it needs to go. I mean, to fit that, I would need to trim off 2.5 inches, which is quite a lot of the straight part. So, and obviously once you've cut it, that's it. So do check, double check. All tips are different, so do check that. Let's offer this Cloude 9 one in. Again, same principle, it bolts on there and it drops down into there. Now, we'll move on to trimming. Now, this is quite straightforward, but I recommend taking your time because obviously you want to get a nice straight cut. The way I do it is get a Jubilee clip, make sure it's nice and straight, the size you want to cut it, so we're going to go for that much, because I think that's going to be about right. Maybe a tiny bit more. Right, and this is the technique I've always used. Other people might do it differently. There's 100 different ways you can do it, but this is the way that works for me. Now, you want to get this reasonably tight. And this is just a Jubilee clip on there. Now, before you do any cutting, everything's in the way. Before you do any cutting, make sure it's on straight, because you want to get a nice straight cut, because if you don't, it might not fit properly. Now, if you've obviously got the air intake and it's at a bit of an angle, you might want to cut it slightly angled just so you get a slightly better fit. But to be honest, you're going to be wanting to get a couple of inches or an inch onto the Maf anyway. So whether it's cut or straight, it's going to need to go on. So a reasonable amount. So get it nice and straight. Take your time. Okay, so that's straight now. Do it up again. And you want to get it nice and tight. Then when it's tight, you can run a nice sharp Stanley blade all the way around and you'll get a lovely straight cut. So let me go and get a Stanley blade. Now I've got a set of blades which are shouldered blades. It might be easier to use a Stanley knife. I quite used to using these. So just be careful, because if you are using a knife, but these are nice and sharp, they're brand new, and all I'll do is get the blade in enough that it's cut through, and then just use, nice and steady, just use your Jubilee clip as a guide. Keep your hands out of the way. And then this way you just get a nice straight cut. Do you know what I mean? Sharp blade, nice straight cut. It might not look like a factory cut, but it will be a nice one. Like I said, fingers out of the way. It's quite easy to hurt yourself. And there you go. That is it, cut. Now, just check it on the bottom bit. You tend to get a bit carried away and do it at a bit of an angle. Or there's a bit of steel wire in it to stop it. On this one, there's a bit of steel wire to stop it bowing out of shape. So you might just need to clip that with a set of cutters, depending on what ones they are, what brand or whatever. Some have this banding just to stop them from going out of shape. And all we'll do is just neaten it up again at the bottom, because it just went slightly out where that braid was. There we go. So there we got a nice straight cut. You can pull that off and that's ready to go now. So that was cutting it. Now let's put the Cloude 9 shield on. So fitting kit wise, like I said, we're going to pop it like that. Now because we've got it done, we should be able to put the Maf on this side, which is what I want. So that'll go on there, nice and snug. Yeah, that's much better. That'll fit without too much drama onto there. It is a bit of a snug fit. They're not 100% the angle you want it to be, but that's because the way the shape the tip is, they've been made either for a specific box or for a cone or for a certain air filter. So obviously these shields are manufactured after these are made, so it is going to be slightly different. Now make sure again your Maf's on the right way around. We'll get this Jubilee clip on first. We won't do it up. We'll actually undo it because it's done up. And then we'll just put it on so it doesn't fall off, and then we can come back to it later. Right, so throw that over there. Throw that in there, roughly where we want it, and we'll get the bolts that come with this. The Cloud 9 one comes with nice little nuts and bolts, and it also comes with this spacer I was saying about. So this spacer here, use the longer bolt with a washer, which I've left in the bag. So you put your washer on, yeah, put the sleeve underneath, and then put the bolt through the sleeve, and then the bolt should line up with the hole nice, which it does. Get it in a bit of the way so you're not going to damage the threads. Then do the other one, which is just a little bolt and a washer into the other side, and get it tightened roughly. And there you have it. So that is your shield. You've got your MAF there. Get it leveled, get it roughly where you want it to be. You can do your Jubilee clips up afterwards. That one's still a tiny bit too tight, probably because it's a little bit too small, but it will do. So I'll get that snugged up now. Right, don't over tighten them. Obviously I don't know how much experience you have with Jubilee clips, but you don't want to over tighten because you can damage the threads and then it will just work itself loose. Now when you're finished, the Cloud 9 custom ones come with little round sort of bolt tops, just to neaten it off so you can't see the silver nuts, silver bolts. And again, go back to your 10mm, and we're just going to snug this down to the car itself. So get it nice and where you think it's going to go. There's a bit of place, you can sort of line up the angle, and then just, you don't need to go mad, just get it to the point where it just starts to nip up, and then call it a day. So that's that. It won't rattle. Lovely jubbly. This one, again, snug it up, little quarter turn. There you go. And that is that fitted. Now we can move on to the velocity stack. Now I haven't got any Jubilee clips on, but I'll do that in a minute. But yeah, that fits a lot better already, and that fits great. The only thing with this is it's fouling on the plastic air duct. So you have a couple of options. Yeah, so that's definitely on as far as it goes. Now, so I'll show you quickly so you've got an idea of what I'm on about. It's going to be easier. See, it's hitting on there. So it's actually where that line is. So all I'll probably do is pull that out, and I'll just trim that off, probably back to sort of about there, just so that it's still got the air coming in. And as you can see, it's got the velocity stack on. Obviously, if you didn't have the velocity stack, it would sit further back, so you'd get away with doing that. So do fit dependent on what you've got. Trial fit it, there's no rush. Like you've seen, this hasn't taken long at all. And then obviously when you're finished, do all the Jubilee clips up. Make sure you've got a Jubilee clips on there. MAF back on, do that up. Now, by the looks of it, it needs to come. I need to undo that and tilt the MAF downwards a little bit because that's a little bit too tight. You don't want it that tight. But that's it. I'll tell you what, let's throw the XL one on just to see if it fits. I don't know whether it will or not because this is quite big. So let's have a look. Right, so remember, stick the right size one on that you need. And obviously this we can push right back because that all can go in the filter. I'll tell you what, I think it's safe to say, as much as we try, that will not go on there. Because it's just a bit tight on the Cloud 9 part. Yeah, it will go on, but it is touching on the 9 side. So, for argument's sake, the XL, the real big one, doesn't fit with the Cloud 9 shield. It does foul. This bit here is catching on this bit here. So it's just a little bit on the wide side. So if you wanted the XL filter and the Cloud 9 shield, they're not compatible. Unless you do some bending. You may be able to bend that out a little bit and you'll probably get it in there. So I'm going to cut down that and we'll get it mounted. Okay, so this was the air duct that I was on about in there. Now to remove it, it is just one 10mm nut on there and it just pushes back in again. I've trimmed off about 2 inches because I wanted it to go past where the filter was. So you can see there, obviously I've trimmed off that much. and I've just cleaned it off with a knife just to make sure it's got a nice smooth edge, there's no bits hanging off it or anything like that. And then all I'll do is I'll put that back on again when I can find the nut, because I've temporarily lost it. But that just pushes back in and snugs on. I'll take you off in a second and show you. Okay, so now the Proram's fitted. I've moved the Maf slightly further round, plus it's out of sight just to makes it look a bit nicer. I've gone for the Proram on top. Little fact I like to do is just make sure all your Jubilee clips are in the same angle, facing the same way. It just looks neater. Doesn't matter, but it looks neater. The other little tip I'll give you is, let me take you a bit closer to see what I'm on about. So on these, it's always good practice with a Jubilee clip or any kind of fixing, it's just to make sure it's on properly. Now, try and make sure it's a uniform on let's do this so it's not shaking. Try and make sure it's on a uniform amount all the way around. So if it's 5mm off, just run your finger around and just make sure it's the same all the way around, because it's quite easy for them to slip off at the bottom, and you don't want it to come off, because obviously then you'll be sucking in all sorts of crud. But again, like I said, look, it's all the way around, just on the top there. You can see it's nice and close to the edge. This one has actually got a shoulder on it, so it sits against the shoulder. Again, all the same way, just looks a bit neater. And you can see here the Proram fits really nice. Doesn't foul on anything. It's close, but it doesn't foul on anything at all, and it's quite nice and sturdy. It's not going anywhere. And you've got that velocity stack doing all that good stuff that we discussed in the video before, getting nice smooth airflow. So that is the velocity stack and Cloud 9 shield fitted. Real straightforward job. As long as you've got a screwdriver set, little socket set, literally all you need is a 10mm, and if you're going to do the Jubilee clips you need that size, and you need a Phillips screwdriver. So the only thing I would probably do is, before I'm finished, is on the Maf, there is, on the Cloud 9 one, there's no specific holes, because they've made it for any kind of fitment in a nice fit, so you can add the holes for your Maf afterwards. Just get a Sharpie or a pencil or something. Once you've got your Maf in the place you want it, tipped at the right angle, and you're happy, maybe leave it for a day, it's entirely up to you. Just get a Sharpie and poke it through the holes, take the shield off, drill them, bolt them, and then that's nice and fixed. I mean, it can't go anywhere anyway, but there is a tiny little bit of wobble just where the Maf comes through the shield housing, which for me, I'd have to have it bolted up just because I like the idea of having it bolted up nice and snug. Then it definitely can't go anywhere at all. It won't shake about. You might get a tiny little rattle, but that's just my preference. But it's easy to do. Literally just Sharpie through the hole, pencil, whatever. Just make a tiny little mark both sides, pull it off, and you'll be able to see it straight away. But make sure you're happy with your Maf fitment where it is, your filter fitment and all that kind of good stuff. And yeah, I mean, just to give you a comparison size-wise, that's probably half an inch longer and is quite a bit rounder on the base. The base is a lot wider, probably another inch, and obviously you've got the velocity stack as well. So it's definitely an upgrade. This one Plus is looking a bit tired. It's a bit rough. This one I actually had. You can see the air through it still, so it's not horrific. But I had this off an old car with the turbo intake pipe, so that's why I have taken this off and fitted this beautiful thing. Keep an eye out, we're going to do loads more videos on dressing the bay. I'm focusing on the bay over the winter, so we'll get quite a few little bits and bobs done. Loads of little cheapies, just to tidy it up really, get it really nice. And just before we go, yeah, so ram air wise, we'll go over this again quickly. This does fit slightly further over, so you would have to cut a little bit more off there. Now on this one, it's not too much of an issue, because this is the SFS one, is quite straight for quite a long time. You could take another inch off and it wouldn't be so much of a worry. On a stock fitment, it will be different. You shouldn't have to trim the stock one, because these are made to replace the stock box. So you shouldn't have to do it on a standard tip. So that should just, the Maf should go straight in there, and that should all pucker up nice to the standard one, and you'll get the filter here. So you'll have that instead of what I've got now. But yeah, and it comes with the same rubber joiner, so the silicone joiner, 2-inch silicone joiner, inch on here, inch on the Maf, same fitment, and yeah, that all goes in the same. So I mean, whether you want this one or you want the slightly nice one, I mean, I'm sure you'll agree that one does look the absolute dog's nut. So that is that's the Proram. This is the normal one. Obviously, the cost-wise, that is a bit more expensive. The shield, I think the filter alone is nearly the cost of the filter and the shield with the cheaper one. So bear that in mind. But it's horses for courses. If you like it looking unbelievable, then that's the one to go for. The other thing I forgot to mention with this is if you have a older style, or certain models will have an SAI pump which comes up to the airbox, and all that'll do is on the airbox there'll be an extra corrugated plastic hose which is just as a squeeze clamp, and it will come with the Ram Air kits. If not the Proram, the Ram Air come with this little filter which you can just put on. It comes with its own little Jubilee clip and everything, and you just pop that on. You can just cable tie that out of the way nice, or if you haven't got that, obviously then you don't need this, you can just throw it. But if you get the Proram and you have got that second teat that I'm on about, the second pipe, secondary air intake pipe, you can buy one of these off of the Ram Air, or if you speak to Cloud 9 Customs, they'll be able to get you one of these bad boys. And yeah, that's kind of it. I mean, cable ties wise, you might want to see if you need to cable tie any cables out, or if you've got any boost pipes floating around. But apart from that, guys, thanks for watching. That's another video from the Parrott Bros. Bye for now.